before we get started with the meeting tonight, I'm asking if there any reason for leaving the meeting. Please let Teresa or the chair know. Thank you. Now we have a quorum established, and now the first thing on the agenda, and I hope we can stick to the agenda, is old business. Anyone have any discussion or question about old business? Last month meeting? Okay, there's none. So next, let's go start with Mr. Ashley for information items and reports.
Yes, ma'am.
Superintendent Ashley.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Of course, we're still calling it the new gym construction progress, but the gym is all done for all general purposes. We, if anything, begins to look like it may not be operating correctly or whatever, we've called Baldwin and Shell, and then they've got people out here very quickly. So we've been very pleased with that. And the financial report on that, and I'll just go ahead and cover the second lien bond is we've got about $2,000 left in the construction for the new gym. And then also we've got about $156,000 left in the second lien bond. And again, Mr. Harper may want to speak to that just a little bit. A chunk of that's going to come out when we pave the lot over at the elementary, but he has had a extremely hard time of getting in touch with not an architect, but a survey or land surveyor, maybe. Mr. Harper he can expound on that, but
civil engineer, Mr. Ashley.
Civil engineer, sorry. But he can talk a little bit more to that. There is any questions to those two things before I move on? Okay, the next thing on the agenda was extending virtual Fridays into the second semester. And in doing so, let me try something here. I'm trying to make that a little. As you know, the board voted, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, voted and allowed our district to go into virtual. We call them virtual Fridays, and those have made a huge difference in the feelings of our teachers. They've all very much appreciated them. But let me say this too: it's not an off day. Our teachers are working, all days on Friday, but they're all virtual. We surveyed all the teachers, and about 90% of them said that having virtual Fridays have been, of course, a tremendous help to them, and they're being able to have virtual lessons. They're having more time to be able to deal with the students, work with some of them one-on-one. So it's definitely paid off. I have reached out to the state, and they had said if that is something that we and then so many other schools across the state are doing it also, but they're continuing their ours is virtual Friday. A lot of other schools are virtual Monday. A lot of them are virtual Wednesday. So it's just a wide range of virtual days. But I would like to ask the board to entertain a vote for us to be able to continue that. The teachers, the principals, and myself, Ms. Cook also, we all support in having going into the second semester with a virtual Friday. Now, let me say this here. If anything changes, we will entertain the thought of the possibility of that not being a thing. But I know as of right now, it has been it's paying it back dividends tenfold with our staff. So, but I would like to ask the board to give me a vote on that of A, for us to be able to do it.
I move that we continue the virtual Friday.
A second.
Okay, no discussion then. Any questions about that? Debate among us? I guess not. So all in favor of extending virtual Friday into the second semester, say yay or no. Mrs. Ritchie,
Yes, I approve.
Billy, I guess so. Toby,
Yes.
Desmond,
Yes.
okay. Okay, we had all in favor. Let's vote on that. We all said yes. So it's unanimously that we extended virtual Friday into the second semester.
If
Next,
y'all will bear,
Teresa, you have that all in favor. It was unanimously that we extended virtual Friday into second semester. You got Billy Fair made the motion and Toby second. Okay, next we can move on to the COVID update, Mr. Ashley.
yes, I would like to, if I can, if you'll bear with me just for a second, I am going to attempt to get something up here on the screen so you can see it. Okay. Okay, right here. Can you view that? I know if one can see it, everybody can.
I can.
Okay.
COVID counts beginning 12/4/2020.
Yes, ma'am. These are the date that it covers from December the 4th till as of about 3 this afternoon. The numbers that we have in Blytheville Primary, of course, we have 2 positive staff members, 6 close contact, 1 out for a child who is close contact, and then 9 total staff members altogether. Students, we have 6 positive students, 67 close contacts. 20 of those are returning this week. Of course, 4 are waiting on results, and 77 total students. Total out is 86. BES, we have 1 positive staff. Close contact is 3. And we have 12 students. Positive students, we have 3. Of course, going back up there, we had 12 close contact. I'm not quite understanding that unless they're saying 12 students are out because of a close contact to a positive staff. I'm not reading that. But they're saying 3 positive students, close contact is 3 staff and 37 students. BMS, positive staff 2, close contact, staff 2, positive student 4, and close contact to 37 students. 45 total out. BHS is 0 positive staff, 1 staff out for no child care. We're familiar with that one. one close contact with a positive case. Students, we have 2 positive students and 5 close contact. All in all, those numbers are good considering we have students that go and meet up every single day, and teachers also. If the Department of Health were here reading our numbers, they would. You're probably always going to have several close contact students, but it is those are, if numbers can be good with a pandemic, I guess those numbers would fall in that category. Do I have any questions from the board?
I have a question about the staff out due to no childcare.
Mhm.
Can you tell us how long she been out? I know the date you said was December the 4th up until present. So,
Well, they've but it's all out. It started with COVID. That the home had COVID, then the child actually had COVID, and now the daycare is not taking students because of a COVID case, and not their child, but their child did have COVID, and therefore, so they've ran into a stream of bad luck with it.
is there a limitation of a staff being out because of that? I mean, they could say that's going on till May. I know
Well,
we had that stuff. We got that passed about a couple months ago, I think we did. And so actually there's nothing we can do about it. If they don't have child care, the child can't attend child care, and they have to be out.
yeah,
Correct?
yes,
And then
ma'am. I mean,
that means we have to pay a sub to teaching her what school she's out at.
well, I'd rather, well, this one's at Blytheville, BHS. I think yeah,
Okay.
in close contact, yeah. They've just run into a string of bad luck. All of it is true. They've been very forthcoming with everything going on. But I can say this here, that teacher has continued to teach from home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Well, I got a question. What
Mhm.
about the cases that has not been, the kids went back? Are they back in school waiting on their test, or are they still at home?
Miss Lewis, which kids?
Say at the elementary school, there's some still out, or they back and waiting on tests, waiting. How many we got due that's waiting on tests to come back?
I'm not exactly sure. Again, I know we've had 37 students at BES that are close contact.
Are they waiting on test results, or have they been tested?
My assumption are they would be.
Okay. Okay, let me see, positive students. So did we not shut two classes down yesterday or today? No?
At elementary.
Yes.
I
No?
I don't recall them telling me that they did.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 2.
But they could have. I mean,
Because I had a parent to call me and she questioned it.
right. Well, I mean, the nurses are the ones that just sent me, our POC, and all of them collaborate. And
Okay.
these are the numbers that they sent me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember, Miss Lewis, if informed me that today.
Mr. Ashley, we do have 2 classes out.
You do have 2 classes
Yes.
out today, or was it last week?
I have 2 classes out now, I believe.
Yeah, I know, but did it happen today, or was it last Thursday or Friday?
I believe it was prior to today, maybe like, yeah, I think it started Friday.
Yeah, I see. I recalled I knew I recalled it being told to me, but I did not recall that it was today. But my days overlap because I get a lot of stuff shared with me. But so it was Friday. Yeah, that 2 classes were quarantined.
So that's the whole class, right? How many
Yeah.
students are in those 2 classes, Miss Walker?
The numbers that you have here are accurate. I believe that's all the students
Okay.
that are included.
37 total.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not in the school.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on this? I'd be glad to entertain them.
Mrs. Walker, on the close contact on the 3 staff, how many days are they going to be out? 10 or 14?
I don't have that information in front of me.
You're saying you don't have it in front of you. Okay, do you all, if you close contact, Mr. Ashley, there's not 10 days or 14 days that they have to be in quarantine?
It's 10 days. You know, they've changed it. CDC and Arkansas Department of Health has changed it. If one of these teachers are close contact, then what they do is they're out. If they test on the 5th day, and that's what they're encouraging everybody to do, is test on the 5th day, and they're negative, they can come back in 2 more days, in 7.
Mr.
Now,
Ashley?
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. The staff that I have out will return after Christmas break.
Okay.
So that means, Ms. Walker, how many days then, you said you didn't have it in front of you. So the 3 staff that you have can return after Christmas Day. And they were Friday was their last day. Was the last day they worked. Is that correct?
Ms. Wells, I'm sorry. I don't have the specifics on when they first went on quarantine or not. I don't have that exact information.
But you do know that they will return the day after Christmas.
When we return from Christmas break, yes, ma'am.
Oh, that'll be in January sometime. Okay,
Right.
I understand.
Well, Miss Walker, so I'm just trying to when we came back, so which would have been last week, how many did you have out last week? How many classes were shut down last week?
I'm going to be honest with you. It's been quite a bit lately. I would have to get with the nurse and give you specific information. Like, I don't have the exact dates of when they were out. I'd have to pull up my attendance information. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I understand that myself. Yes. Okay.
Miss Walker was pretty tied up last week. She had lost her mother,
Oh,
and she was out. And but I can tell you, as of Friday, that number was 16 teachers, but they were all scheduled to come back today.
Ms.
There
Walker,
were 16.
excuse me, Mr. Ashley. Ms. Walker, I'm sorry to hear about your loss.
Thank you.
so am I. I hadn't heard, normally we hear stuff, but we didn't hear that. So you saying 16 teachers now? I thought listening at the Blytheville Elementary, you get it's saying, well, that's positive, one staff member.
Yes, ma'am. Now, this was as of Friday. There were 16 teachers out. Most of them out because of close contact, but their quarantine ended over the weekend. So they were all able to come back today.
Anybody else have any questions?
I just have a real quick question, Ms.
Okay.
Wells. Mr.
Go ahead.
Ashley, do you have the results from the survey that you sent out to your teachers and staff available to share with the board tonight?
I don't know if are you just talking about some of the comments they made?
No, I thought it was a survey that went out to them after the last board meeting.
It was, yes, sir, we did.
I would like to, if you could share those results of that survey with the board, I would like to see them.
Okay. Ms. Cook, if you
Mr.
don't
Ashley,
mind.
I can pull that up after, if I can get out of your screen, I can pull that up and have it ready in just a moment.
Okay.
Desmond, you talking about on the COVID update?
No.
Oh,
Them numbers just ain't adding up to me. I guess I'm crazy. If I look at last week, I looked at the report, which was given to us also. And if they started that Monday, we got 5 to 10 days quarantine. This is a new week. So now them numbers these teachers should come back, but they don't have to. So all if they're tested negative, what you're saying is they don't have to stay in quarantine 10 days, right? That's what you're saying.
Well, with there's new policies out there now that's been released from CDC and the Arkansas Department of Health that has changed it a little bit from 14 down to 10 days. Example, if a close contact is out and they're tested after the 5th day and they're negative, they can come back after the 7th day, 2 more days after. If someone is considered a close contact and they don't want to get tested and they show no symptoms, they can come back after 10 days if they've shown no symptoms.
you understand that, Carolyn?
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure y'all understand it, because 16 from 16 to 2, that's the last week it was 16. Now all of a sudden it's one. What is it, one staff?
Ms. Lewis, on some of those, it's because they had already finished their amount of days and Friday was the last day of their quarantine based on wherever they were or when they were exposed. And that's why that number changed. Because as they are allowed to come back, they're taken off the list and then the new people would be added on. So, but to answer the question you had earlier, if a student or anyone is waiting on results, they're at home. They would be home waiting until they get those results.
That's
I
fine.
understand that. Yeah. Wish they should. Okay. Mrs. Cook, you still working on that?
No, ma'am, I have it ready if I can share my screen, Mr. Ashley, if you want to allow
Mr.
me.
Ashley need to, which one gonna share it, you or Mr. Ashley?
We'll let
Mr.
let me
Hammond?
see. Mr. Williams, can you give her access to that?
Yes, Sally, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. All right, let me move this over a little bit so you can see. Okay, this is the survey. Can everybody see what I've got pulled up here? We had 162 responses to the survey. It was given November 19th. The first question is, what building do you work in? So that way the principals were able to find out if there was any individual information that they needed for their own building. So that first chart is just where they work. But the 3 questions that we asked specifically about the options for student learning, the first question is, which of the 3 options is best for the 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas? Option 1, which is the blue that you see here, is to do a gender split to provide lower numbers in the classrooms, which would mean girls would come 2 days a week, boys 2 days a week, and then have the virtual Friday. That was 53%. The option 2 in the red, 24% said to let parents choose whether they would send their students or not on a day-to-day basis. And in the orange, option 3, 22.5% was no changes, have all face-to-face students come as normal. The second question that was asked is, which of these 3 options is best starting in January if our numbers are still high? It was very similar to the other question. 63% said split by gender to allow for more social distancing. 22% in the red said parents choose whether to send them or not on a day-to-day basis. And option 3, 14% said no changes, all face-to-face students should come. And then the last question that we asked was, we made changes to provide for the virtual Friday to provide some relief for teachers, giving them more time to plan, grade, and communicate with parents or students weekly. We were asked to evaluate how that has worked. Please let us know if that 1 day a week has helped you. Out of the respondents, 91.1% said that it has been a benefit to me as a teacher and I would like for it to continue in the second semester. 8.9% said virtual Friday has not been a benefit to me as a teacher or staff. I can't imagine who that 8.9% is, but apparently it's not helping them. So
Ms. Cook,
yes,
basically we asked the same question 3 different ways. Can I see the additional comments that that were submitted? Do you have the additional comments that you can share with the board?
I can share that with the board in another document. Is that okay if I have Mr. Ashley email that to you, since?
Yeah.
I think that would help.
There was not a question asked about going virtual
At all.
until the second semester, right? And
Well,
At all.
well, I didn't see it. I just didn't read it.
It wasn't even an option.
Right.
well, if
But-
you
but,
remember,
okay.
if you remember, we
No, I'm
got
just looking at, I'm looking at the 3 questions as they are asked here.
Yes, sir.
And 1 and 2 basically. All right. I think we're just kind of shuffling and we're trying to understand and just kind of, I understand that this is a pandemic. I don't think any of us has lived through something like this ever. So I get it that we're trying to figure this out and do the best thing. But my concern as a board member, it looks as if that we're just passing the baton and shuffling the deck. And each board member gets a different story from each building. And I think a level of transparency is lacking. You tell us what you want us to hear, and you tell us that the numbers are good, but we get reports from people in each building that they're not so good. So that's concerning to me.
Mr. Hammond, the only thing I can tell you about this is these questions were approved by our principals. We had a meeting. We talked about the options, what options to ask in the survey. At this point, if you remember, closing down completely and going completely virtual was not an option that the state allowed us.
Well, I understand.
Yes,
but
sir.
sometimes we have to
we sent this out to the principals and they approved the questions before we sent it. So
yeah, sometimes we have to be bold and intentional to keep our people safe. And I understand what you're saying about the state doesn't allow some things. but sometimes we got to step out there and be willing to take the brunt of this to keep our people safe.
Yes, sir.
Even if it's not approved by the state, we're at least sending them a message that, hey, we're more concerned about our students and our faculty and staff than what your data you're looking at suggests to you that we're okay. I just heard Mr. Ashley say that our numbers were good. I would like to see those numbers in a percentage because they may not be so good. And how we're sharing this information with the board, I would like to see more. I would like to understand what the teachers have responded to this questionnaire, this survey, and I would like to see those additional comments.
I do know that based on the numbers that he shared tonight, and I can't remember, I don't have that page right in front of me, but I think we had 9 total staff right now who were positive. And if you do 9 out of the 168 that responded, it's let me see if I can do that again.
9, and that 9 has affected how many close contact staff?
There was another, I have to go, I don't have that page, I'm sorry, in front of me with their numbers.
Okay. Yeah, so we have 9, but I'm pretty sure that 9, I heard one that tested positive that affected 7 others in an email earlier.
It is causing us to quarantine some people, but most of those quarantined people are not coming back positive. They are having to stay out, which is definitely.
And they're coming out for the 7 days. What I'm saying is that I don't want to have, I don't want to appear to be challenging or just making noise for the hell of it. I hear this. I hear a lot of the teachers, faculty, and staff that are concerned about their well-being, their safety, and they're not pleased with the information that the board is making a decision about their lives on. So what I'm saying is, what you're giving us as a board, we have to trust and believe that. But then when I talk to the teachers, faculty, and staff, they tell me a different story, and they lose credibility and trust in the decisions we make about their lives. So I understand the state
Mr. Ashley has begun to share these exact numbers and realize these numbers don't come from the administration building. They come from the nurses counting the numbers within our district and sharing those numbers with the Department of Health. So it's not Mr. Ashley or someone else at the administration building creating those numbers. It comes straight from the contacts from our point of contact, the nurses in the building working together to do the contact tracing. And he has begun, because that was one of the things that some of the teachers said, is they felt like they weren't as aware of how many students or teachers were out in the other buildings. And so he's begun sharing that information every week with them, trying to help make that clear. But we also want to make sure and encourage them to understand that this is not something that we could manufacture. There is no way to create a false number, because it's going straight through the Arkansas Department of Health, and it's not something anybody can manipulate, if that makes any sense.
Well, I totally agree with you on the number, but I don't think we have, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only board member that has received calls about this, is how this information is being, how the story is being told, Ms. Cook, is what I'm questioning.
Well, I will say that we did have a good conversation, and Mr. Ashley has been Zooming with the buildings to answer their questions personally, just to try to help them understand, because we know there's a lot of fear out there just in the society in general. And we're doing all we can to try to help, ease their fears as much as we can and provide as much as we can for safety. But it's just an uncomfortable situation. But they have to also understand that we have rules that we have to abide by as well. And when we meet with the department and they say, 9 out of the 168 is less than 1% of your faculty is positive, therefore we cannot validate closing down a building. So it just makes it real difficult for us, because we're getting pressure on 2 different ends. So I totally understand your concern. I think it's a valid concern. I think the concerns from our staff are valid, but I also know that there's not a lot that we can do to change that, and follow what the Department of Health recommends and follow what the Department of Education recommends. But I do understand your concern there.
Ms. Cook,
Thank you
may I
so
ask
much.
you a
Thank you
question?
so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Cook, for that information. And I will wait to receive the email with the additional comments from Mr. Ashley. Thank you so much for all you do, Ms. Cook. Thank
Be
you.
glad to do that.
Well, I got a question, Miss Wells, before you start. When you went down to that number 8, Miss Cook, and that number 8, that you got that 8% of it, what was that question you said?
No, I'm just trying to do quick math, and Chris or somebody else who's on here do that. But when I don't have the numbers in front of me, from what I
No.
remember when he had the numbers up a minute ago, I was counting just the total positive staff.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your survey now.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So we need to go back to that last question because I didn't like the remarks about the 8. If the 8 said they didn't like, then they just didn't like. I think that was very unprofessional of you to even laugh about the 8. That's their feelings, and they just didn't disagree. They disagreed. So we can all disagree to disagree. That just wasn't cool with me. With that bothered me. But then I'm gonna go back to this. That's another subject. I'm finna go to this one. First of all, I want my board members to know that from the state, we do have the right to ask Mr. Ashley or modify, and we make the request, and Mr. Ashley makes the request to the state. We do have that right. So I want to get that understanding across because y'all said we couldn't, but we could. Say like if you said 2-day, 1-day modification, and we all agreed, if all 8 of us agree and say, hey, let's give them 2. Let's do Monday, let's do Friday. We give that to Mr. Ashley and he can do so as well. And even if we even said virtue, not saying shut the school down, but everybody going virtue, just like you all can do it on your when y'all feel like you should do it. I think we could make that call as well to help out. And he makes that request and take it to state. Now, that's what I was told. And I want my board members to know that we can make these decisions. But it's not a decision making, it's a request to make it for our superintendent to go to them. And I'm still lost, Mr. Ashley. I'm still kind of baffled about we being not of the community. The school system makes the community. And that's one thing I think a parent and myself is kind of confused about because I think they were told the same thing. The school is not part of the community. I wish we could reword that another way because the school system is a part of the community. Because if so, when we built this arena, you wouldn't have needed our money to build it. So it all is a community. We need to get that kind of reworded into our parents a better way.
I don't know what you're talking about, Miss Lewis.
Okay,
I don't either.
What I'm
I don't.
talking about is we were told that the school system was not part of the community when it comes to the COVID numbers. Am I right or wrong?
Oh,
Who told you? I mean, you
I'm
saying
asking a question, Ms. Wells. I'm talking to Mr. Ashley. He knows. I mean, I was told, I asked that question, and that's what I was told. And a parent was told that same thing. So am I right or wrong that I was not told that, the school didn't make up the community?
I mean, did I say that? Miss Lewis,
Sir?
You're saying that I said that?
It was said that that the school, y'all get the numbers, well, y'all take these numbers and you take the school out the community. So I guess the school has its own number and the community has its own number. In that way it was put, or am I wrong?
There is a difference in the way it's reported. Like what we have to report is just for Blytheville School District. We do not have a report for total numbers like the mayor will report on total numbers for the whole community. but those other people are not involved. They're either not students, not teachers, not connected to the school. So we're reporting for the school just based on people that are entering our school every day, students, teachers, any other faculty, staff. But that is how we are required to report. It's just for those that work for us or go to school. So I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, Ms. Lewis, but that is a different number than like the total community-wide numbers of people that may or may not, or that may not have anything to do with the school itself.
Ooh. All right.
Is that what you were asking? I'm just trying to help clarify.
I get that you're trying to help qualify, but I can't be rude. This is just a fact. I was talking to Mr. Ashley. I'm not trying to put him on the spot. I'm just, you're answering all the questions, and I feel like he needs to answer some of them too. I'm not being, I'm trying to get it together. That's all I'm.
Well, the way
Lewis,
you, let me say this here since I'm chairing this meeting. The way you do that is you direct your question to Mr. Ashley. Mrs. Cook, don't say anything. When you, then if Mr. Ashley not sure, he is the one to address to Ms. Cooks or whoever else to intervene in the conversation. And that way you can maybe get some clarification. Because like you said, we've been going over these numbers and stuff all along ever since this pandemic started. And Mr. Ashley, I would just like to say this. If you would let the board give us a report from what Mrs. Cook's presenting to us tonight, maybe that would help answer Mr. Hammett's question as far as seeing the numbers himself. In other words, instead of the board has to ask for these, if it's been discussed prior about these surveys and the numbers, why can't you forward them to the board members if possible?
yeah, that very much so I can. Like I said, yes, we can. We can send those to the board. Of course, now you remember this was just, I don't know, Ms. Cook, what, 2 weeks ago that we had done the survey. If the survey was semi-based off of the board requesting or going to ask if they could go virtual for the next 3 weeks. As superintendent, when I told you, pardon me, when I told you that the board can't vote to do that, then I corrected myself and said, oh, the board can vote, but I do know this here, is that the state is not going to allow you to go virtual for the next 3 weeks. They're not based on the numbers that we were looking at. And now I'm getting a little bit of suspicion that you're not believing my numbers. I mean, folks, listen, I'm not hiding numbers. I'm presenting true numbers of what's going on in our buildings. I'm not putting more and I'm not putting less. That would be ridiculous for me to do that. Ms. Lewis, I guess, I mean, if you could do a little more clarification on what you were saying, the community is part of the school and the school is not part of the community. I'm a little bit lost on that question. That's the reason I'm not just jumping in with both feet to answer that question. But y'all worked with me long enough, guys. I mean, if you want to know anything from me, feel free to ask. Or if I've not given you something that you think I should, then please reach out and say, Mr. Ashley, how about this? I'll be glad. But our meeting with the Department of Health and the Department of Ed was based on the board's request about wanting to go virtual. And, the answer to that was exactly what I knew that it was going to be. And that we couldn't, because our numbers does not support it. Numbers that come straight from my nurses. So, you know, listen, we're in a heck of a fight every single day with this. And Mr. Hammond, I know you must get several calls from teachers. I met with a group today of teachers. So yes, I understand how they feel, and justifiably they're scared, they're worried. Very few things can I say that will comfort them, because we still are having school face to face. But when I look at our numbers, you know, in our school district, at least it's not a massive spread in our school district. Every positive case has a story to go with it. You know, I mean, a week and a half ago, I mean, one positive turned into 8 quarantined staff members. 2 students turned into 65 kids being quarantined. So, yeah, it's, and when I say they're good numbers, I mean, if there are such a thing, our numbers, the Department of Health would look and say that for where we are, our numbers are positive compared to a lot of others, I suppose. So, I don't know how we got off on that tangent, but I'll be glad to share anything with you guys that you want.
Ms. Cook, may I ask you a question?
Ma'am?
When somebody tests positive or whatever, and then the students that have come in direct contact are quarantined at that point, I'm assuming that they receive a letter. The parent does, saying that their child is going to be quarantined for whatever. Are they asked at that time to have their child tested? Is there any mandatory testing involved for them to
No.
come back to school?
There is not a mandatory test. When you are a close contact, you are, whether you're in a business or a school or anything like that, at this point, they're telling you to just go home, isolate yourself, and watch for symptoms. If you should have any symptoms, then they say go and get tested. And that's one reason why that amount of days is there, because if you are going to get symptoms, you would get those symptoms within that time frame of those days. That's my understanding. The nurse could probably share better information than I can with
Well,
that.
Ms. Cook, let's say someone has been close contact, they're home for about 3 days and they start having symptoms. Then they go get tested and they're positive. They go back to the day that they started the symptoms, and they're quarantined from 10 days from when they got their symptoms.
Okay. Thank you. I
If they
didn't know
start
whether
getting symptoms after 5 days and they test positive, then they quarantine 10 more days past that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on the COVID? And Mr. Ashley, you're going to make sure that the board get that information, that survey, the numbers from that survey?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Being some of them would like requested that. I guess the rest of us as well would like to have it.
I can send it to the whole board. The next, I'd like to move on to Miss Whitney Ryle. Miss Ryle works for Entergy, and she's actually been with us, I know, once, maybe twice, but once for sure. And she's going to speak to you tonight about our solar energy path that we would like to take as far as money saving for our district. So, Ms. Ryle?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me take a little bit of your time tonight. Can you all hear me okay?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Which I have met with you all. I know once before, Mr. Ashley, Mr. Harper, we visited a few different times. We've been working together for over a year now on this solar project, and it is here. Solar energy purchasing option, we're calling SEPO, is now available to our customers, which is available only to a select group of customers, schools, cities, churches, specific organizations. And we had a sign-up process this summer while we were waiting on the commission to approve the actual option. And Blytheville schools jumped on that along with several other. We probably have 160 plus customers in the state of Arkansas and get online and sign up. And that was from by getting online at 8 a.m. on a specific date. And you essentially took a number. So Blytheville schools made it in to our first set of solar capacity, which is wonderful. That means that you all can subscribe as a district to the solar savings option is what it is. We have discussed numbers, what savings would have looked like if solar energy was an option to subscribe to in 2019, based off of our actual output from our solar energy facility in Stuttgart. So it was roughly around, Mr. Ashley might double check me, but it was roughly around $43,000 for the year of 2019. In savings if solar would have been an option. So it's here now. So we're really excited that they jumped on and we're able to get on the first set of customers, if you will. So that's kind of where we are right now, but maybe just as a little refresher, what this does is it essentially allows you to save money as a school district. Solar has become very popular in the last couple of years. You may have seen some solar facilities popping up around the state, which is great. It's better for the environment. We've had it for a few years now, but we've been working with the commission for a couple of years as well to make it an option for our customers. And so now it's here, which means that our customers can subscribe to solar, which means you do not have to pay fuel costs since it's a solar energy option. But we already have the facilities in place. So all you do is subscribe to the facility itself. So we do not build any solar panels on school campus. We wouldn't have to take up any of your land. There's no construction waiting time. There's no sign up fees or anything like that. Trying to think of anything else we might not have covered. I mean, it's essentially, the equipment is no different. You're going to continue to keep your meters the way that you have them, the accounts set up the way that you have them. It would just be a much lower rate. So, and what you would have your standard rate, which is what you have right now, which is different for each account depending on the rate schedule that you're on. But those accounts that are eligible will be able to subscribe to the solar rate. And whenever our solar array is generating energy, then you will be saving. I hope that makes sense. And if for the time that the solar is not producing, you go back to your standard rate. But the solar rate is much lower than your regular energy rate. We do have a few schools in this list of customers that have already signed up. We have a couple that started this bill cycle saving. Just to share with you, Manila schools, Gosnell schools, Harrisburg schools, Walnut Ridge schools, which is Lawrence County Public Schools. Those are just a few, but we have several other in Arkansas. We have 65 customers subscribing total. Again, that's a kind of combination of schools and cities, others. And we have almost 100 waiting to get it on more capacity that we're waiting on to be approved by the commission. One thing I will touch on too, the difference between us and maybe another solar provider is, because you may have heard there are other smaller companies out there that are selling solar and selling these panels. But again, you use our facilities. It's no different than you using the power you're using now. If a power line gets knocked down, transmission structure is broken in a storm, we are solely responsible for all of that. And that is no different for solar. We are solely responsible for repairing, replacing, and maintenance and everything that's involved. A third party company that is selling solar to, you or someone else, they're selling that to you. So you would have to be involved in the maintenance. There would be upfront costs for equipment, and there's none of that with us. It's no different than how you're generating today. Trying to think if I missed anything else, Mr. Ashley. Jump in.
Well, I was just going to say, I guess I'd say maybe almost a year ago we started working on this, Whitney.
Yes, sir.
And because we were waiting on the
commission,
who y'all were, Energy Commission, waiting on them to approve Entergy for their plan that they were wanting to do and go with. So I definitely didn't want us to go with a third party where they were going to come in here and either partner with us to build panels on our lots. And then, of course, after 20 years, they start offering us to buy their panels or either, it's one of those situations. But with Whitney and I had been talking about it, and this was the easiest and best for us because of their competitive prices. Well, they had to be competitive,
right,
if they're going to be to be able to get customers, because the other companies were charging a lower rate. They had to charge a lower rate too, in which they wanted to do that for their customers. But we've been talking for over a year or a year. But Entergy is who I'd like for our board to agree to go with, so we can start the savings. Of course, a while ago she had said, at peak time and what it depends on if that sun's shining, I guess, doesn't it, Whitney?
It does, yes, sir. In the summer months, you're going to be saving more because obviously there's more sunlight. But I told Mr. Ashley this, 2019 was one of the lowest sunlight years we had. So $43,000 in savings is wonderful, but I hope that's going to be better for the next years and years to come. So that's positive. But certainly it's a good thing. There's no investment with us up front either. The school is not having to pay to sign on to this option like you would with another outside company.
We just had to be ready at 8 o'clock back, I forget when.
In July.
Sure.
Yes, sir. And
So,
you've
Mr.
already.
So do you need a vote on this now?
Yeah, yes, sir. I
have
do.
a question first, please.
Sure.
Whitney, does Entergy maintain storage batteries? You said that as long as the sun is shining, we're on solar, and then other than that, we're on your utility grid. Do they maintain storage batteries?
We have a portfolio of facilities, and one of our facilities does have a storage battery. Yes. This facility that the school would be subscribed to at this moment, and this is where you will stay, which is Stuttgart, does not have a storage battery. But we're finding that there's not a ton of difference, I guess. What happens is the district will subscribe to a certain amount. So you will get that amount. And if the sunlight doesn't produce, if there's not enough array produced, then you can roll into the next month. Or if we overproduce, you can roll that to the next month, if that makes sense. So your summer months will probably make up for a few other months like December.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else, since everybody jumped in and just started talking, I didn't go back to the chair for me to ask, was there any question for Mrs. Rao? Is that how to pronounce your last name, Whitney?
You are correct. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for her on this solar energy? And also, I think, did you have a question? Someone said something? Okay. Have the board had time to look at the account of the information that's estimated based on the usages? Have you all, any of y'all had time to look at that? Or you want to go and make a motion tonight? Or you want to review it before doing so?
I'd just like to make the statement that it's absolutely a win-win situation.
You
There-
also, you,
There's
it is.
all pros and no cons to this because it doesn't cost us any more than what we're used to paying.
Okay. Anybody else have any suggestion or aware or familiar with this?
Ms.
The
Wells,
solar energy?
Ms.
Uh-huh.
Wells, if you remember, last February, we went to a section on that and they were talking about solar panels and stuff.
It's
And I
correct.
think it's great for our school district to participate. It would save us a lot of money.
The one
Yes.
that we did in Little Rock.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have any questions?
I'd like to make a motion.
Either now we will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the contract with Entergy for solar energy.
I would second that motion.
Okay, there was a motion made by Mrs. Johnson on accepting the solar energy, and second by, for the Blytheville Public School, and also second by Billy Fair. Okay. Ready to vote? Or
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Hammond has a thumbs up.
Okay, and I do as well.
I think it
So
was
all is in
unanimous.
favor. It's unanimously that we accept solar energy, doing business with the Blytheville School District. Mrs. Watley. Any question Mrs. Watley, did you have that? Okay, we can move on now. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Miss Watley said she had it.
Okay, good. Now we can move on to
Whitney, thank you, Miss Rouse.
Thank you all. I'll talk to you soon, Mr. Ashley.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
okay, you can continue with your report, Mr. Ashley.
Okay. And the last thing that I have is would like for the board to vote for an alternative dispersing officer. And the reason for that is because we're kind of in a situation right now with our president that she's kind of out of pocket, and instead of always putting pressure on her, having to go find her, I'd like to recommend that our vice president, Miss Wells, being alternative dispersing officer. That way she can sign checks when our president is not available.
Well, Mr. Ashley stated that. Any objection? Or we don't we do need to do a vote on that as well. I think so.
And I'd like to entertain any questions a little bit more on this, if anybody'd like to know a little bit more on it.
I don't think Miss Wells gonna have a baby, so I think she'll do a good job.
Have what? Oh, no, right, Mr. Hamley, I got to get you on that.
We never know.
Yeah. Everybody agree?
About the baby?
No.
I make a
I-
motion that we
I
allow-
moved, I would like, oh, go ahead, Toby.
I make a motion that we allow the vice president of the school board to become the alternate dispersing officer.
Second.
It's been a motion by Mrs. Johnson, second by Mr. Hammond for the alternative disbursing officer.
Thank y'all. And that's all I have.
Okay, next we have go to number B,
Wait a minute.
instruction, no reports, which is Mrs.
Sorry,
Cook.
Mr. Wells, did y'all just vote on, y'all did vote,
No.
didn't you?
No,
No,
we
we
didn't.
didn't vote.
We had a
Oh, okay,
motion.
no, after I just made the motion. Okay, let's vote.
Sorry.
Thumbs up. All five, all six? It's voted unanimously, Mrs. Wilder. Okay, now we'll move on to Mrs. Cook to give her a report, please.
Okay, my report tonight is just a follow-up on the Engage Arkansas information that you all have been given. I'm sure you've seen and heard some of it in the community. Engage Arkansas is the group that the state, Department of Ed has put together to help us support those virtual learners that are having some sort of trouble. And as you know, we had about 474 students out of our 713, I believe it was at the time that we sent the information, that were struggling in one way or another with virtual learning. Some of them had 2 or more Fs in a core classroom. Some of them had absences that were more than 20% of the time they were absent. So both of those were huge red flags. So Mr. Williams and I worked together to send the information in to the Engage Arkansas team and get the information out to the community. I've put the information on our social media page for the district, and the schools have shared that as well. It's on our website. We had an article done in the newspaper and then a follow-up article addressed it a second time. I appeared on the mayor's Zoom meeting to the city last Wednesday. All of these things are in an effort to make parents and families aware that there is help out there for their struggling learners if they are virtual students. Of course, you know, we use our virtual Fridays, the teachers do, to also make those contacts and work in smaller groups if they need to. But we've added that contact information is also on the mayor's page and in several places that have sent that information and shared it. And then I also shared with an email to the faculty so that all of them would know when they are working with their virtual students, they can let them know that there is additional help besides what we're doing through the district. Out of that group, they have started targeting the first group or category, which were 77 students who had been absent 20% or more of the days of their classes. And so with that 77 students, this team of Engage Arkansas has made 195 phone calls and contacts to try to reach them. They have reached 29 of the 77. And they are working to connect them with an academic coach to find out what kind of troubles or issues or concerns they're having that's keeping them from logging in. Why are they not logging in? Why would they be missing so much of that time? And so they walk through that situation with them and just add another layer of the same kind of thing that we're actually doing in our buildings. Our principals, our support staff, teachers, all are making the phone calls, trying to find out those same things. But sometimes another entity coming in helps. And so we are glad to have them coming and assisting it with us. Out of the students that have been contacted, out of those 29, 25% of the K-5 kids said, hey, you know, we're struggling with the computer part of this. So we know that's an issue with the younger kids, and one reason why so many of the parents brought their kids back to face, because it is very difficult for those younger kids to handle everything online. We also had 25% said that they needed help with how to talk to their teachers or access the school. So even though, out of these 29, 25% of those, that's not a very large number, but it's still something to make us aware of reaching out in another way, in a different way, because we've constantly sent phone messages, texts, emails, notes out. We've had people that have gone out and knocked on doors, because we're really working, trying to contact those folks that are not connecting, to help them understand that we need you, to connect one way or the other. If you're going to stay virtual, you're going to have to log in, because staying virtual and not logging in means you're going to fail. And we don't want to see a large number of students failing. So that's one of our biggest concerns, is the number of kids that are virtual that are just not participating. And they're losing a lot of time. They're losing a lot of important information. At the 6th through 12th grade level, some of the interesting things they found out is that 100% of them had access to a computer, 91% of them had access to the internet. And so those few that still don't have internet access, we've been putting out all over the community that we have hotspots that are available. We've had people coming in. We get them connected to what they need so that we can provide a hotspot for them based on the qualifications. So we're going to try to narrow that number down just a little bit more. I'm surprised that we have anybody at this point that still does not have that connection, as much as we've sent out. But if there are those that are still out there and they still don't have that access, we need to get them into the building so that we can provide that for them. Also, 100% of them said they had an adult that was checking on their progress, which is a good number. That's great to know that that they had that. And another concern we had, one of the questions that they're asking is, are you responsible for taking care of siblings or helping other children with their schooling? Only 14% of our 6th through 12th graders, out of the ones that had been contacted, said, yes, I'm having to babysit. So this number, this information that they're getting is going to help us. Just this afternoon, I got all of that information together and was able to share it with our principals so they can see a little bit more for their age level and age group. And it just helps to inform us on what's the next step that we need to do as a school and as a district to reach out to this group. And we'll be continuing to get updates from this team regularly. We'll get something usually every Friday. The update that I got this week was over the weekend. And so I was able to get a new update this morning, which is why I shared things out. So basically, I just want you to know there is that group out there. We're working with them to try to make sure that they can connect. But they did send something to Chris and I this afternoon telling us that there's no way that they're going to be able to reach all 400 and something of our students. The state is only allocating them, allowing them to work with a specific number. So there's going to be quite a few of our kids that are in that number that the state is not going to be able to help us with. So we're going to continue our efforts in the buildings to reach them. On a similar note, we have contacted and have been sending out surveys per building to check in with those parents to find out what are your concerns, how are you working, how are things working out for you and your child, telling them if they're virtual and things are going well, we would love to keep them virtual. They have that option to stay virtual second semester. And then also those that have been really struggling, we've sent recommendations to some and said, we recommend that you come back to school face-to-face because your child's not doing very well virtually. We cannot force them to come back. And some of those parents will probably choose to stay at home, but we want them to know that if we're looking at the academic end, academically, they're suffering from not being with their teacher. So just kind of wanted to give you that update. We're walking that fine line between, what's best for these kids. And we want the parents to have that input. And that's one reason why we put the virtual academy together. If a parent wants to keep their children home, they can. But our biggest message to them is if you choose to keep your child at home, please stay in contact with your school. Please log in every single day. Please make sure that you're following up with what your child is doing, because we find out a lot that a child says, oh yes, I've been online and I'm doing fine. But when the parent actually speaks with the teacher, the child's not completing their assignments. They're online, but they're not online doing schoolwork. And so our biggest message to the community is take care of one another, let each other know when where these helps are, because we do have some assistance and some help, but make sure that you, if you are a virtual learner and you're responsible for a virtual learner, that you are monitoring that progress every day, because we just don't want to see 400 students lose a year of school because they aren't completing assignments and not doing the work. So that's all I have tonight, Mr. Ashley.
Any question for Mrs. Cook? Mrs. Cook, I have a question. What percentage did you say that do not have internet? Did you say not? What percent did you say?
Only out of the, let's see, 9% did not, but that's out of 29 kids. They've only contacted 29 of the 77 who were chronically absent. And so not very many right now that don't have internet access. We've done a good job of getting that out to everyone.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Next, we'll hear from Mrs. Cole, Director of Support Services.
Good evening. Just to go over everything, to allude to everything that Mr. Ashley shared on the COVID update. Ms. Cook shared on the
Louder,
pardon.
louder, please.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can.
Okay, thank you. All right, so just to say, the COVID report from Mr. Ashley, and then the things that the initiatives that Ms. Cook has just shared on the updates of the Engage initiative, the virtual academy. It all covers IEP students, 504 students, and ELL students. So we're all working together. We're all having the same similar situations with parents and being engaged on the virtual programs, the Link and Learn Buzz. So I don't have anything in addition to share, but we're just working very closely with the parents, the teachers, and of course the students. That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Mrs. Cole? Okay, if not, then thanks, Mrs. Cole. We will move on to the operations report. Mr. Harper.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Wells. Can everybody hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Just a follow-up to what Mr. Ashley was saying regarding the parking lot project over at elementary school. I'm scheduled to meet with a civil engineer Wednesday in order to assess needs, to basically put together specifications that will be required for the bid. We're advised that we needed to take this step by the Facilities Division of the Department of Education. We decided to undertake the project. So I'll be sure to keep the board updated regarding, updates as they occur with that project. But that meeting is supposed to actually occur this Wednesday. So I'll have more to report out in January regarding that. Let me talk real quick, if I could, regarding some of our services within the district, between food services, transportation, maintenance, and safety. And then I'd like to introduce all of you to Mr. Pruitt with ABCO services here shortly, and I'll explain why. Right now, child nutrition, just want to stress the fact that our cafeterias are open, and they are still serving any child 18 years of age or younger on our virtual status days. Regarding transportation, No accidents or damage to report since last month. And actually that would include November as well. I just want to always like sharing that. Currently averaging between 250 to 300 students per day right now. Maintenance. Our maintenance members continue to assist with the distribution of PPE to our campuses, as well as disinfecting supplies. Includes like aerosol spray, hand sanitizer, things of that nature. Our members of maintenance have been assisting Mrs. Walker and some of her staff there at Blytheville Elementary regarding the construction of some new playground equipment there. Tearing out of some of the old material there, that some of the mulch that actually houses some of that equipment, and then helping with placing some of that for the installation of this new equipment. We hope to have that completed here soon. Also, our members of maintenance have been very busy. Well, starting on December 6th, we had a major leak occur in the auditorium, a 3-inch water line that runs entirely from east to west underneath that building. It flooded, and our maintenance members worked extremely hard to help get water pumped out, try to get it dried out. And then over the weekend, it appeared that somebody turned the water meter back on. And so Sunday evening, we found approximately 8 inches of water standing again inside the auditorium. And again, I just want to compliment our members of maintenance for going out there and working late into the evening, helping get that water pumped out and get that facility dried out again. Supposed to meet with the adjuster tomorrow to assess exactly what's going to need to be done as far as work. Right now, we're pretty sure that all the carpeting throughout that facility is going to have to be replaced, and possibly even some of the woodworking around the face of the stage as well. But we'll know a little bit more about that tomorrow when we meet. As far as safety and security, I just want to report regarding personal protective equipment, PPE, masks, gloves, both cloth masks and disposable gloves, both for youth and adults. And our supplies are at an adequate level right now. We also have a large supply of face shields, disposable gowns, and as I mentioned earlier, disinfectant. Our CSSO staff just recently participated in some virtual training online. And I'd mentioned this earlier in one of our board meetings. Part of it was through NASRO, which is a nationally accredited school safety-based training program. And then also one of our officers there at the high school just participated in an SRO, or a school resource officer-based training that was offered by the Criminal Justice Institute out of UAL, and just completed that last week. And with that said, I'd be glad to answer any questions regarding operations. And then shortly after that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Pruitt to you.
Mr. Harper, I have a question. I'm sorry, Madam President.
Okay, go ahead. Any questions, go ahead and address them, please.
Mr. Harper, you said something about supplies. Do our teachers still yet get the wipes and stuff that they need?
Ms. Lewis, I'm sorry, there's some feedback. Are you asking about disinfectant wipes?
Yeah, I said, are they still getting the wipes and the stuff that they need for each classroom?
Yes, ma'am. As far as I know, we have those in stock, and certainly distribute those when they're requested.
So they got to ask for them, right?
Well, what we do is we distribute them through the campus principals. They make the request because we'll keep all of that stocked out at the warehouse. It helps us maintain our inventory. And so that's how they're distributed.
Okay. And I was passing by today. What happened to the high school, the end of the auditorium? Did somebody?
Yes. Yes. I'm glad you asked that question, Ms. Lewis. Early this morning, our waste disposal service was dumping the containers in the library parking lot, and actually became entangled with a cable overhead that was attached to part of the outer wall on the auditorium, actually, and pulled down some of the brickwork from the top of that wall and actually caved part of the awning on the east side of the auditorium. As best we can tell, there's no actual roof damage. And then we're actually working with the waste disposals insurance adjuster as far as assessing damage and repair. And again, our maintenance crew and safety and security officers, they both did a great job today in getting out there and making sure that any vehicle traffic and foot traffic stayed away and remained safe.
Right. Okay. And then, so is our water line, is that our problem? That's all solved?
That has been corrected, Ms. Lewis. We had to actually have a new line installed because as best we could tell, the original line was actually laid when that building was built, and we believe it was around 1951. And there was an assessment that we didn't feel that the existing line could be repaired. So that entire line has been replaced and hopefully should last for years to come.
Okay, great. That's all I have.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Mr. Harper, I just wanted you to mention, if you would, I know 2 or 3 of the board members are going to be happy about this. We got lights over there at the Blytheville primary, lights for the entrance there.
Yes,
I
sir.
saw
That is
that last
correct.
week. I saw that last week, Mr. Harper. That was one of the projects that I had been concerned about last year that was brought to my attention by the community.
Yes, ma'am. When we started that project, we had, of course, additional lighting placed on the building itself, but then we've received, of course, more feedback that there was a need for, actual external lighting, even out near where the drop-off lane was at. So we contracted for that service because there was electrical cable that had to be installed. But yes, that was completed a little over a week ago. So hopefully that will help with that.
Yeah.
Looks good and lights good.
Yeah, it does. And also people will feel more safety because that was really something that we needed to take care of.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, go ahead, Mr. Harper.
So real quick, just to give you a little bit of history, we have been with our current cleaning service. The district has been for approximately 5 years. Over the past year or so, we've received feedback from our campus principals with different issues related to cleaning, and even most recently, specifically related to deep cleaning and even fogging or lack thereof. And over that period of time, we've had several cleaning services reach out and offer quotes. And basically what I do with that, as far as the process, is I like partnering them with the campus principals to get their feedback and to see some of the processes that take place in their buildings. And with that said, we had a service that had reached out late last year and even throughout the beginning of 2020 that had offered a quote. And that quote was it was twice where we're at right now currently as far as the cost of our current contract, our annual contract for cleaning services. And with that said, Mr. Pruitt had reached out to us earlier this year as well. And I had Mr. Pruitt follow the same process and had him meet with the campus principals and to listen to their feedback and what they felt was working and what was not, and to spend some time and again watch some of those processes in their buildings. And with that said, Mr. Pruitt came back and offered us a quote. And I'll just tell you, one of the things that we were really impressed with was, and I'm sure Mr. Pruitt will touch on it with you here in just a minute, has to do with the training that their services offer, the recruiting, the training that they offer their employees. I was very impressed with that. And then also the cost. We're looking at a savings at approximately $10,000 or a little bit over per month. And then also Mr. Pruitt has advised that their company has applied with the TIPS TAPS program. And I'll let him explain some of that to you here in just a minute. So I just wanted to share some of that with you to explain kind of where we're at, how we've gotten to this point, and some of the feedback that we've received from some of the vendors. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jeff Pruitt. He is a Division Vice President with ABCO Services. And Mr. Pruitt, are you with us?
I am. Brandon, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to talk to you guys tonight. I just want to give you a little background. We've been in our service for over 60 years, owned and operated 4 generations, and we do a really good job. We have to because our margins are low, and we have to do a good job to make our clients happy. So one of the biggest things that I've been talking to Mr. Brandon and Mr. Bob about last year is continuity and communication and consistency. One of the biggest things and the challenge of custodial cleaning is you just can never find the right person to do the right job. But what we do is we come in and we speak to all the principals or all the assistant principals, which we have done in the last few months. We've even toured the campuses, and I'm very familiar with Blytheville. We have Osceola School District. We have the 3 service account there with the grounds maintenance and custodial, and Armorel with custodial maintenance. And we just want to move that on to Blytheville because we know we can do a good job and save you a ton of money and do a really good job. We speak to all the assistant principals and principals about who they want to keep. If you don't want to keep them, we will hire new individuals. We use the VA system a lot, the Veteran Association, and just bring them in and train them up completely because our training program is very, very unique. Before you can start working with us, you have to go through the online process, which is training. And if you can't do that, then you can't be hired. And not only that, after that, we train each employee for 3 consecutive days to make sure they understand their job. And that's one of the biggest things we have been successful at. And I think that, we really want to partner with the Blytheville School District, and the money, we offer a good savings because we have to do a good job. And I know the schools very well. Mr. Wallace and I know each other, and I visited some of the campuses and along with my manager, regional manager, Jennifer King, and they voiced their concerns, and those concerns are warranted. And it's too easy, to be honest with you. Clean the campuses, do a good job, be consistent, and communicate. I think that ABCO will serve you guys in an appropriate manner and do a really good job. And our training, again, is obsolete. We continue to train every day. COVID-19 is a huge problem for us right now, and we partner with K-12 universities, industrial, just so many different partners right now that they ask for a specific program, and we cater to their needs. We put in electrostatic sprayers in each school district to make sure we spray everything nightly, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, whatever the school district wants. I'm up with any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Pruitt?
I do. Mr. Pruitt, you said that if we had custodial staff that we were very pleased with, that you would take them on board too. Would there be a salary reduction if they go to work for you? Is there a contractor?
No, ma'am. We would adhere to anything with Arkansas state laws.
Okay, what about insurance? Would they have full insurance like they have through us?
They have every opportunity to have insurance, full benefits, including 401k. And you don't have to wait for a year. We do it automatically. If you want to enroll in 1 month, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Harper, who is the current custodial provider?
Our current provider is SG360, and in reviewing the contract, it looks like we've been with them for about 5 years now.
What's the name of them again?
SG360.
G360.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is just, if I'm correct, Mr. Ashley, you were saying that this is just a proposal tonight.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, it is, Mr. Hamlin.
Okay.
So is this a yearly contract? Every year they'll be renewed, right? Or just coming in yearly?
It's an annual contract, and I've already given the numbers to Mr. Brandon and Mr. Bobby.
Right.
And again, we're coming in $120,000 cheaper because I know the district, because I really know all the districts around you guys, and I know what I can save you, and I know what I can do for you.
So you.
By the way, I live in.
Mr. Hammond has the floor. Go ahead, Mr. Hammond.
Mr. Harper, you mentioned that there were some other companies that reach out to do custodial services for us, and that has given us quotes. Why hasn't the board seen those quotes? Were they just too expensive, or didn't meet the needs that we wanted? I heard Mr. Pruitt say he knew Mr. Wallace very well, and he knows the district. He knows that he can save us $120,000. My question, and some of the questions that I presented to Mr. Ashley were, did we advertise this? Did we list this for bid opportunities on our website? I want more information from the Tips Taps program, but I think we need to fairly advertise and market this opportunity, and just to have something to kind of benchmark and base our need and what we want at this time.
Sure.
I think fair competition should be something we pay attention to now. And where is this company out of?
ABCO is based out of St. Louis, with the local offices around the area as well. And Jeff, if you want to describe perhaps where some of the local offices are located.
Yes, sir. We actually have offices in Osceola, Arkansas, Armorel, Arkansas, Dyersburg, Tennessee. We're in 13 states.
That's because
those are customers. Those are people that, yeah, those are customers, Mr. Pruitt. And also, Mr. Hammond, well, I don't want to interfere because that's what I'm trying to get us to do, to respect who has the floor. Go ahead on, continue.
No, you're fine. I just, I look at the and then, I've had some communication back and forth with Mr. Ashley on this. When we say professional services or commodities or however it is, I think the board made a strong precedent when we set some of the criteria that we would consider when considering vendors to do business with our district. And I'm hearing, we can save $120,000. How do I know as a board member that there may not be somebody that can save us $130,000, $150,000 that may be able to provide the same job to the district? So, my thing is, my personal opinion is that I would like for us to, if we're going to do this, to advertise this, put it out there, let others, companies bid on this as well. And I just because you come to me and say, hey, I can do this, isn't the way we should do business as a board.
And also, Mr. Hammond, I agree with that. And also, I would like to say, I just wish the criteria should be consistent. Like we had some months ago, this year, 2020, we had like 3 or 4 lawn services and other people bid it, and it was advertised and whatever. So if we make these rules and the board has adopted these, why can't we be consistent, Mr. Harper, and do this as well with this janitorial services?
Okay, so to the question regarding other vendors. Yes, regarding other vendors, we met with the existing vendor earlier this year. with the regional manager, and we were discussing scope of duties. There were several services that were not being performed. And when we were discussing those, we kept getting a lot of pushback that, well, this particular item is not within the scope of duties. It's not listed within the contract. And then we were also notified that the district could expect to receive an increase, a contract renewal because of an increase in cost of services. So
No, I'm not talking about the,
anticipated.
I'm sorry, Mr. Harper. I'm not talking about the current provider. You said you had several other custodial vendors come to you with different quotes. I don't want to hear about about what's not working.
What he's saying, we need to be consistent and transparent as far as doing like we have done and that the board elected to do.
Yes.
I'm quite sure that if it's other vendors out there may have proposal as well, but we only been presented with this particular one tonight.
And here's the thing to remember, folks. This service has not been placed for bid. It's just like many other services. We'll have vendors approach us, and we've had another one that actually went through that process I described to you earlier, where they took the time to go out and meet with our principals and listen to their feedback and look at those processes. That particular vendor, the quote that they offered to us was actually twice the amount of what we're currently paying annually. So when Mr. Pruitt's company came through and spent the time and looked at those processes and then came back with this quote, we just felt like it'd be prudent to bring this matter to the board to review, especially given the fact that they went through the TIPS TAPS process, which is approved for many vendors and manufacturers for government programs.
So will we see this service advertised and out to bidders for different companies to come to our district and give us a proposal or quote? You're not asking us you're just not asking us to accept this. You're just saying this is the one that came with information, good information. He likes Mr. Wallace. He knows Mr. Wallace. He knows the district. He's going to save us $120,000. But now we're going to advertise this just as well as Ms. Wells's mentioned about, like we did our lawn service and our spraying and chemical spraying for our weed control. We will see this being advertised and on the district website under bid opportunities within next week?
Well, that's why we wanted to bring it to you, is to see, you as a board, your thoughts and feelings on this matter. But, again, we just wanted to bring it to you, given the fact that there is an opportunity for savings, and to see whether or not there was interest in us bidding this process, because we've been with this service for 5 years now.
Let's bid it out. Let's get rid of XG360. If they're not doing the job, there should be a clause in our contract that says, hey, you're not doing our job. Hey, you're out of there.
They should have been gone.
Is it a contract 5 years or every year, annual?
No, it was initially, if I remember correctly, a 2-year contract, and then it auto renews after that.
But I do want to remind the board of this here is that, if it's the board's wishes for us to bid out all these things, that's fine. But we also have an opportunity, if we don't want to, because of TIP TAP. And it was asking me today when it was back in 2005, I think, that the board did pass a resolution to go with TIPS TAPS, and all TIPS TAPS is that they're a member there. They've already been vetted. And if you go with somebody through TIPS TAPS, all the things that we're talking about right now, they've already been vetted for the job that you would hire them to do. So that's why we like going with TIPS TAPS.
Good explanation. So all the things that we're discussing now, we don't have to discuss because they're with TIPS TAPS. But, Mr. Ashley, if we're going to bid out a service, for someone to be a vendor and do business in our district, I would like to make sure we've given the community, the state of Arkansas, a fair chance to bid and do business with us. I would like to keep our business in Arkansas, me personally, but if this St. Louis company saves us money, hey, let's go with them also if they beat out all the other competitors.
Yeah.
And that's just, my personal opinion. Let's be fair, consistent, and let's put this thing out to bid and let the best man or best company win from there.
Hey,
Well,
Mr. Bobby, Jeff speaking. I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate the concerns, and I thank you for that. And I would ask the board members to reach out to Mr. Alfred Hogan or Dr. Green at Osceola and Tiffany Morgan, the superintendent at Almarell, what we have done. We run a really low margin of 10%. I'm just be honest with you. I'm just going to tell you. And most companies do 17.35, and we as a company have to do a good job to make our business worthwhile because we're a fourth generation owner with no financiers. We just do a good job. But
Mr. Jeff, I have a quick question for you, Mr. Jeff. What's your starting salary for your custodians?
Well, day porters normally $11 an hour.
Okay, $11 an hour. Okay.
Sure.
Does your company have a diversity inclusion policy? How does it see women in leadership roles, or can you speak to that a little bit more about your company? Give me a little bit more information about.
I'll be happy to. But my regional manager, I have a bunch.
You have a bunch of regional. Okay.
Yeah, and they're females, and I'll be honest with you, if I didn't have them, I'd be in trouble. I really would. We're diverse background. We have a huge company, and I'm in 13 states, and I'll be honest with you, if I didn't have them, I'd be in trouble. But, Mr. Bobby and I and Brandon have been talking for about a year, and Mr. Alf, when I talk about Osceola and Almarell, I just want you guys to know that they love us. They love what we do. We have maintenance accounts, 3 accounts at Osceola, grounds, maintenance, and custodial, and maintenance and custodial at Almarell. We do a really good job. We offer a low margin because we have to do a good job. There's no other company out there that will beat our price at what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
hey, Jeff, let me speak to this. I don't think the board questioned y'all's ability or anything like that for sure. I mean, but they just want us to go out there and make sure that everybody's got a fair shot at this. So
yes, sir. Hey, the good thing is
that's what we're
I live in
saying.
Dyer, Tennessee. I'm not too far.
right.
Mr. Pruitt,
Yes, ma'am.
are you certified by Tip Taps?
I'm certified through Tips Taps, CAMS. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Harper, this letter of October 23rd, the last thing you put on there was ABCO does not appear to be certified by Tip Taps.
They were not at that point.
Okay.
We are now.
Thank you.
We are now, though.
Hey, good enough.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And I think the board has figured me out by now. I want the best company, but also I also want to make sure that if we can save some money in some areas, and these contracted services that we have are some big dollar items.
Sure.
Moving forward, I'm always going to look and see if money can be saved, but also the job
yes, sir.
be done.
Mr. Ashley.
Yes, sir.
I just have one more question. After evaluating our district, how many people will you employ to provide services to the Blytheville School District, Mr. Pruitt?
It's probably about 24.
24, and your
Yes,
day porter. And how many of those people are day porters?
We take up every day porter, every night custodian. Like at the middle school, I know that they have to have a day porter.
How many of the 24 are day porters? It's
we have
just
about
24.
I'm sorry?
Is it 24 day porters?
Oh, no, sir. Employees total.
Okay.
That's the complete.
Depending,
Yeah.
like at the middle school, you'd have to have a day porter and one for the school gym. Because I used to work with Randy Jones, and I know that. So I just kind of implemented that in there.
Yeah, they're gonna be set up to meet our needs and what we tell them that we need, Mr. Hammond.
Well, yeah, so I'm assuming that has already been done. So if you know that number of positions that we will employ, and I'm pretty sure these people may be from Blytheville or Mississippi County, which is a thumbs up in my book. I just want to kind of, just wanted a number of how many people we have the possibility to employ at this time.
Yes, sir. And we always try to employ everyone from Blytheville area.
Okay. Is that a guarantee?
No.
Yes, sir.
Well,
that's a guarantee.
you said they had to go through training, first of all.
Yes, ma'am.
And there might be some that maybe not be able to complete the training. Then what are you going to do with them? They don't be hired, correct?
We help them to it's 110% for us as a company. The training's not that hard. It's not that simple. I mean, it's pretty simplistic. We just kind of just show them how it's done, show them for the training, and we hire them. We go to the local VA, we go to the local unemployment office to keep everything in blind. I'm a veteran for 21 years, so that's what I do.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for this information. Thank you, Mr. Harper, Mr. Ashley. I'll be waiting to see it advertised, and let's revisit this here soon.
Yes, sir.
I got a question, Mr. Ashley or Mr. Harper. Are we getting rid of, I got feedback.
Well,
are we trying to get rid of our custodial as well?
She talking about the employee working for that janitorial, service.
No, not them. Ours are the ones that we have on site.
Well, that's something we're evaluating right now.
Okay.
But it's not, hopefully in the future, we're not planning on getting rid of them when you said evaluate. Okay.
No, good. I hope we're not getting rid of them.
Yeah, evaluate them.
Yeah, I think Mr. Harper was saying just SG 360 people.
Yes, that's correct. If I'm understanding the question correctly, I think Ms. Lewis is referring to Blytheville employees, and that was not part of the consideration. It was just the SG 360 services.
Yes, right. Yeah. Any other questions?
Mr. Ashley. Mr. Ashley.
Yes, sir.
While we're on the cost savings of Mr. Harper, now that we're revisiting the custodial services, have we thought about any cost savings initiatives with our food services programs as well? Because I remember some of the food services were coming in with the cost savings for the district as well.
Yes. Well, let me say it like this. Everything that we have is being evaluated for two things: service and savings. With custodial, it would be the service that they can do for our buildings, for our teachers, the cleanliness of the building. Food service is always being evaluated also for the food that they can deliver to our students, and then also the savings. So yes, sir, everything is being revisited.
I'll tell you one thing need to be revisited, and I'm going to say it again, is the preparation of the food that we feed into these kids. Because they're going home hungry and they complain about it. Plus, I visit those at lunchtime, and it's just look like to me it's getting. Wait a minute, it look like to me it's getting worse.
Okay, well.
even though
like
we
I said,
saved it.
But yes, ma'am, we revisit everything, Mr. Hammett.
And Mrs. I hope so about the service. Okay, any other questions? If not, we can move on to action items 5.
Jeff, you're welcome to stay on, but thank you for staying on to speak.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all's time tonight to the
Yes, sir.
board and Bobby and Mr. Brandon and the principals and vice principals. I just appreciate you letting me hang on.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we move on to action items number 5. Number 5, A through F. Need a motion.
I make a motion that we accept action items 5A through F.
Second,
Second.
Ms. Wally.
I second.
Yeah, Mrs. Johnson made the motion and Mrs. Richards second the motion on action items A through F. Now we need to take a vote. Everybody thumbs up. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, okay.
Aye.
Billy, did you say something? I couldn't hear. I was going in and out.
I said now aye.
Okay, and Desmond as well. Okay. Mrs. Wiley, all in favor. It's unanimously. Okay, the last one is personnel recommendation. Do y'all see any reason that we need to go into executive session on resignation of certified employees and retirement?
Miss Wells,
Uh-huh.
Madam Chair, Miss Wells,
I'm
I
listening.
think we need to go. I think we need to go into executive session. I would like to go into executive session to discuss some personnel issues with the transportation department.
Okay, I was as well, okay, you stated why you need to go, so yes, it's the same as personnel recommendation. I have a question about personnel as
Chris,
well.
can you put us in the waiting
So,
room?
okay, we're going into
Okay.
have to,
Since you're going to go into executive session, I'll create a breakout room with all 6 of the board members in it. So give me just a few minutes and you automatically show up in a breakout room.
Okay.
okay, thank you, Chris.
Can we take about a 2-minute break?
Yes, you can go, whoever need to, go ahead.
Okay.
I guess we'll convene when Mr. Ashley gets back. No one else said they need to leave. You told us we have to join that.
Yes, Ms. Wells, join that to get to the breakout room. You got to join your breakout room, Mr. Fair. And they'll be in the executive session waiting on you.
Do you say Mark Rice put a question on there?
Okay.
Chris,
Oh, y'all we back in executive session?
Mute. Yes, we back in open session. Can I get a motion on recommendation on number 6 for personnel recommendation?
I move. I move that we accept the recommendations. Action item 6.
Personnel. Who did? Is there a second?
Yeah,
Second.
Mr. Hammond.
Okay. All in favor? Everybody, thumbs up. Okay, all in favor to accept personnel recommendation, item 6A through F. The vote is unanimously.
Ms. Wells, could we get who the first and who made the motion, who seconded it for,
The motion was made by Billy Fair, made the motion, and second by Desmond Hammond.
okay.
Now we need a motion that we can adjourn at what time is it?
I move to adjourn.
8. Yeah, the meeting is second. The meeting
I
adjourned.
second. All right,
Yeah.
thank y'all. Have a nice night.
All right,
Y'all
Merry
have a Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
It's